All right, what's up, everybody? I am Matt Rosenthal, and you're tuning in to Digging In. This is a weekly show, and I do it for one reason, because I want to help motivate you. I want to inspire. I want to share information, and I bring people on this show specifically for that purpose. And today I have on Margo Morrison. Margo is one of the most amazing people you're ever going to watch. I'm telling you, she built a business from nothing. She found her way. She tells an unbelievable story on this episode. Her journey is worth listening to. She shares absolute gold nuggets on how to build a business, how to follow your passion, how to treat customers. I mean, she goes from one end to the other. Stay to the end. Please, if you like it, subscribe, check out all of our videos, but definitely watch Margo. Stay to the end. Thank you. Hope you enjoy the episode. What's up, everybody? Thank you. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning in. I want to welcome today, we have an awesome, exciting, dynamic human being right here, Margo Morrison. I'm grateful and I'm thankful to have her on the show, because what I know she's going to deliver right now is an unbelievable story about being self-made, about building a brand. And I know that along the way, the things that she went through and the story she's going to share, they're going to deliver value. You're going to take something from this that's going to in some way help you. And that's why we're here. That's why we do the show. So Margo, thank you so much for joining me today.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen, I want to jump into it, and I want to start right here. Tell me, well, actually, so we know you built a big brand. We're not going to get into it just yet, but bring me back to the beginning. Before you did all that, before you became who you are now and what you do now, there was a young lady who had dreams, aspirations, and maybe a passion. So bring me back to the start.
It wasn't jewelry. I mean, that's the bearing the pill and not bearing the pill in the food, like, end of story. It wasn't jewelry. It was the fact that I'm a super creative person. And, my parents gave me classical piano lessons growing up. So I played classical piano for 16 years. And I'm the kind of person that just likes to do creative things. I love creative music and art and culture. And the jewelry came as sort of like I was walking down the street at Lincoln Road Mall with my mom and my sister. And my sister said, I need to get a necklace. And we look in a window. And honestly, I'd taken maybe one jewelry making class as like an adult education course. And you had to string up like beads up on like this kind of knot on this kind of wire. And I thought, God, I'm so untalented. I can't even do this. I looked at the woman next to me. I said, she's coming up with better ideas. The necklace was spaced. It had stone, space, stone, space. I don't know what happened. Like that expression, a light bulb went off. I know
Sure.
what people mean when they say that. I looked at that and I said, this is very cool the way the stones seem to be suspended. And just like musical notes are suspended on a staff, I had sort of like this connection to music. And I just said, I have something to say. I could do this, but I had no idea how to do it. I didn't know how to make a knot. I didn't know how to close a necklace. I didn't know anything. But the whole point is I was 41 and I was doing a million other things before I fell into this. And I literally fell into it. I went back to New York the next day and I bought stones and I sat on my couch and I started just making jewelry and making these open-ended lariats with these colored, beautiful, semi-precious stones. And I had no idea what I was doing, but something inside of me just had to come out to express myself.
So this was a creative outlet, but I want you to take me back. So you were 41 when that happened, which was, I guess, about a year ago. So tell me before that, like, what, you were very creative. I mean, everything you're saying, it's all about like creativity and it is about passion. So what were you doing for the 20 years before that?
I have to tell you, when I went to college, I really didn't know what to study. I had studied
Welcome to the club.
Sorry, welcome to
the club.
But when you're in college and everyone else is getting their economics degree and poli-sci, and I didn't even know what poli-sci was. It just sounded really odd. And I just thought I should drop out of school. Like, I think a message here is, if you're a super creative person, sometimes college doesn't always feed into that creative side, but it's good to finish college because it's important. So I did a journalism degree. It seemed interesting. I did, like, my favorite part was doing this magazine layout where you had to lay stuff out. And I ended up publishing an arts guide in Miami, which we can talk about in a minute. But I had all these different interests. I didn't know how to harness them. I barely kind of got through college. I did well. I'm articulate. I did journalism. I love writing. And I got out of college and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was sitting on the plane next to a publisher of an interior design magazine in Miami. And I said, I'm graduating. And she said, I'll give you a job. Like, I was like, okay. I literally didn't know what I was going to do after college. So I took this job in the art department, laying out magazines and doing all sorts of creative things. And then it just kind of went from there. And then I worked for a magazine that used to work, you know, the Jockey, do you remember the Jockey Club and Grovile and Turnberry? They used to have a magazine. So I took that over and I started working for them. Then I published my own cultural arts guide for 3 years in Miami, became the official arts guide. And then I moved to New York and did 25 different jobs. I'm literally like a good story for people who don't know what they want to be when they grow up. And then it works out in the end.
Something in there though, like, so that meeting on the plane, what was it? This was when you were just out of college or just finishing college?
Graduate, I was 22. I did a 5-year degree because I really couldn't figure out what to do. You know what it is? It's believing in yourself. And a lot of these pat phrases that people say, really, there's truth. As you get older, you realize there's a reason for all these kind of, you know, sayings. I was very confident. I knew how to sell myself. And I just said to her, I've got all these great talents and I'm sure I could be an asset. Although I probably didn't say it that articulately, but she saw something and she took a chance and I didn't let her down.
I just wrote down 6 words that you said that are so common when we hear stories. So you'll get to this in a minute, but you did build like a phenomenal brand. But when we look back, way before that was even like an idea in your mind, what did you have? You had confidence, and you have confidence now, like you exude confidence. I suspect that's why the person on the plane was like, I need her working for me, because there's a vibe, right? You just know it's okay because you have that energy.
Well, thank you. And I've learned at this age now that those are kind of important qualities that even if you don't know what the hell you're doing, like you just fake it. I remember when I was a professional organizer.
Make it till you make it.
I mean, it's true. I was a professional. I decided one day I would be very good at organizing other people's lives. And I went to a party. I had no clients. And someone came up to me and said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a personal organizer, because at the time that's what I said. He said, I've got a client for you. And I got this big wig financial guy. I had never done this before, but I'd worked for a record label executive managing his life. And I'd be done by like 1 o'clock and I'd be reading the paper because I was very, very organized. I'm a very organized person.
Yes.
And I got a client, and through him, I got another client and then another client. And I just figured it out. You figure it out.
Well, you did. Okay. So I got to put some of these pieces together, right? Because I'm figuring you out. So you have the confidence piece. You have this, you talked about having belief in yourself, right? And this is all at like a very young age, right? So, I mean, that's really healthy. And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people struggle, but whether you may have had struggles or not, you still had some really core, like natural good things going on for you. Hard work. It sounds like everything you've done, you've just naturally been a hard worker. And you had a vision. These are all things you just talked about. And this is all part of, so now you're telling me, oh, I ended up working for in the music business, kind of figured it out, but you didn't really, because what I'm hearing is you did a lot of different things. You were around a lot of different people, and maybe not knowing it, you had a lot of mentors, right? There's a lot of things you were learning along the way, which
That's why,
for what you did at 41.
That's why I say to people when they say, this is my major and I need to do the job that's in what I studied. And I say to them, that's not really the journey. I say, the journey is take a job, whatever job. I was a secretary. I was a temp secretary. And thank goodness my mother gave me typing lessons because I was on typewriters in high school.
I'm hiring, by the way.
Sorry?
I'm hiring.
You're hiring? I remember something like 165 words a minute, some crazy number because of the classical piano. Yeah. And I had no shame. Like if I worked in an insurance office or I worked in a record label, I just did. whatever I needed to do to soak in any information that some high level executive could impart. And I always say to people, just work, get in the working world. You don't know where it's going to take you. You don't know the people you're going to meet on the way. You don't know what you think you want to do might turn into, you're going to do something else. If you had told me after I graduated college I was going to be a jewelry designer, I would have said, I'm sorry, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know about that. And yet 21 years later now, I've got what I would like to consider a very successful company. But it's not just because it's jewelry. It doesn't matter what the product is. There are core things you need to possess in order to be successful, I think, in life.
Talk to me. You can't stop there.
Do you want to know what those are?
Yes.
So like
my chair over here. Come on. Oh, the light just went out. Hold on.
But like one thing you said was that I had a vision.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to contradict you, but the truth is I actually didn't have a vision.
Okay.
I had confidence and an ability to sell myself. So whatever job I went into, I was very confident about it. But I didn't know that one day I was going to own my own company. Look, I was always very entrepreneurial. So when I did my arts magazine, it was my own company. When I did the personal organizing, it was my own company. But I had the ability to stick with it, work my tail off, give up weekends, not go on vacation. Everybody else is going to the Hamptons in the summer and I had to stay home and do work. And not that I mind, because I didn't mind. I lived in a little teeny tiny studio apartment. I worked off my bed to build my jewelry business. I just remember not changing out of my sweatpants for days. Like
This is such a great story.
You just barely eat. Yeah. You're like, you know that you have to put one foot in front of the other. And now you've got to do this thing. And now you should do a trade show. And, now you need to sell it to this person. Oh, now you got to figure out you can't make all the jewelry all the time because you can't run a business that way and grow it. How are you going to get someone to help you do that? How do you build it's like, I didn't go to business school. But you have more inside of you, I think, than you think you do. You just do it.
Thank you so much for saying that, because it's true. I went to business. I have an MBA. It totally useless. I mean, it's just a reality. It's for me.
Learn something.
But for me, it didn't teach me. I've built several businesses, and as have you, and you and I are both examples of it comes from inside. There's more I just wrote down. You have grit, you have fortitude, you have commitment, you have discipline. Every single thing you're talking about is what makes an entrepreneur. And it's not just starting one business and saying, oh, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. You've done so many, and I want you to tell me something. Did they all succeed?
When I had my culture arts magazine, I was in my late 20s, and I was so into the culture and so into recording, it was events, it was book fairs and art openings. And I didn't understand, you had to sell advertising. How do you produce a magazine? Right. You got to produce a magazine every month. You got to sell. I wouldn't say I made any money from that magazine, but boy, did I got some nice art, because I had to threaten people who didn't pay their bills. And then I'd say, well, just give me a piece of art. So I ended up getting some cool stuff. I didn't make any money doing it. I learned a ton though. Who cares? So I didn't make a lot of money. I didn't make any money. I had to borrow money from my parents. I had to pay them back. So what? So you do it, and you fall down and you scrape your knee and you get up and you say, I'm not giving up. I'm going to do this again. I think I'm kind of lazy because I don't get up at 7 a.m. in the morning and start my day with a cup of coffee. And I like to sleep in. I like to go to bed late. I'm a true creative soul. I like to work late and get up late. So if I get up 9:30, 10, I'm tired of reading the articles that say you're not a success, successful habits of good habits of successful people. You know what? Not everybody gets up at 7 a.m. But I just remember a quick story when I was working for this record label executive. At the time, you had to know shorthand. I'm sure to this audience, they don't even know what that means. But you had to learn shorthand, to make abbreviations for words. And I never took shorthand. And he said, look, you've been temping for me, and now I'm going to have to let you go because you don't know how to do shorthand. I said, you know what? I bet I could type as fast as you speak. And I bet if I bring the laptop in while you're dictating a letter, I will keep up with you. He said, I don't think so, but let's try it. So I went in, he starts dictating, and I kept up with him. And he was like, did you get that? And I was like,
Going away. Yeah.
and he said, you got the job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, he wanted to let me go. I sold myself. Look, I could have fallen flat on my face. So what? That's the thing. So what? But I didn't. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't.
Interesting, because you really did just describe to me something that a lot of people could look at as a failure, right? Because you didn't make money, but it's not. You even described a perceived failure as a win, as a success, which is really interesting and very cool, because entrepreneurs, as you know, excuse me, you have to be able to look at, like, you look at something, it didn't work out, you pivot, you learn, you move on, and you don't make the same mistake again. And you're not saying that, but that's what I'm hearing you say. Like, it rolls off your shoulders, and you're like, all right, what's next?
I'm kind of saying that, though. You're actually right. Like, I love being my own boss. And the idea that, so when I was a professional organizer, they call it that now, I had to work to earn the money. It's like a lawyer, you work by the hour, you get paid by the hour. And I thought somewhere along the line, I want to work and have a company where I've employed other people. And if I don't get to work at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., the money's still being generated. So that was in the back of my head, how to build a business where it wasn't completely dependent upon me to go out and, and like hunt the food all day. So I finally got to a place, and believe me, it's even harder now when you've got other people, because now I have 7 employees, and it's hard work, and it's hard managing and human resources and personalities and finding people's strengths and weaknesses, and just having to be the adult all the time. Sometimes
Sure.
people are just upset about stuff and they're entitled, but you have to just learn how to deal with it. And you can't really ever let your immature side come through. You have to value everybody all the time, because they're very important to you. And you have to validate everybody all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
They need it.
We all need it. And quite
Sure.
frankly, when my VP of sales thanks me or says I did a good job, it like makes my day. Like,
Doesn't that make you feel great?
Like, bosses need love too.
Yes.
And it's important to me that they look to me.
That's a good name for a show. That right there is a show. Bosses need love too. That's your podcast.
It's true. It's like, I'm not the most secure person in the world. I just play one on TV, but like, I just feel like we all need to hug each other, so to speak, not literally, but figuratively, and make sure everybody's like feeling good about what they're doing. That's another whole topic of conversation about how important it is to value everybody in your office.
Before we dive into what you're doing now and where it gets really fun, was there any point where you were like, I forget it, I'm just going to give up, I can't do this?
No.
Before it actually hit? No,
I don't think like that. My brain doesn't think that way. This is going to work, but I don't even actually say that. I just say to myself, probably somehow give myself this information that you just work really hard and figure out what you need to do and what the priorities are, and just do it, and you will be successful. You just will.
It's so interesting. So you went through the whole story you just told, all these different things and everything you didn't tell us about. Each one of those little wins probably built up a lot of confidence. It's inside. You're getting more confident as a confident person anyway, to the point where even when maybe other people would have been like, forget it, this is too hard, you didn't even think about it. It just doesn't even cross your mind, because you can do it.
I think, again, and I just was texting my cousin who lives in South Africa, who wants to do a particular kind of work, and I won't get specific, but I said, it's the journey.
Yeah.
I soaked up like a sponge every boss I worked for, the good, the bad, the ugly. What did I like about him? What did I not like? What did I like? His management skills? Was he really smart? What was it? I learned from all my supervisors, my superiors. I guess I must have, because I'm looking back now and I'm saying, I learned from that record executive. I learned from the people I managed doing the professional organizing. And it built my confidence, because I didn't know those people out there did those kinds of things. It's funny when you watch documentaries. I just watched a documentary on David Geffen.
I watched that. Oh my God, was that great?
Oh my God, I want to meet him.
Yeah,
He
really.
invented the job that he
Yeah,
became a billionaire at.
yeah,
So I literally was sitting, not sitting, I was jumping up and down on the couch going, yes, I'm like so inspired by people like this. They invent the thing that ends up being their business. So I feel like I invented each of my jobs that I did, each of my businesses.
yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's
Oh my
that's a
God.
must watch. That is one of the best
Ah,
documentaries I've ever seen. And I'm a huge music fan, so like if it's even more fun. But yeah, it was a very cool show.
Clive Davis, Quincy Jones, just
We're
watch
watching
them.
all the same documentaries.
I mean, Clive Davis, okay, he went to Harvard or Yale or whatever, got his law degree. Let's put that aside. David
That's not
Geffen,
what did it.
who said he was like definitely the dumbest kid in his class. And he said, not only did I know, but everybody knew. Okay, $10 billion later. Hello.
But what's the skill he had? He was likable. He was able to sell, but not in a salesy way. It was a confidence. It was, I can do this. It was all of that. It's everything you just said.
Yeah, I love how his mother says to him when she finds out what he does, what is this job that you do? Like, you get paid for this? Like,
You did really well.
and that's the other thing is sometimes parents can say like, you know, do you know what you're doing? Like, you know, my parents were very supportive, but I remember my dad saying like, do you know how many other jewelry designers there are in this business? And I thought, I don't really think about that. It never occurred to me. I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah,
like that.
yeah. And it didn't stop you. I'm bringing it back to what you said a little while ago. You had this moment that you decided you wanted to do something with jewelry, but you didn't know anything about it,
No,
and you had a lot of self-doubt. And I wrote that
no
down because,
self-doubt. Oh, as originally as a jewelry designer thinking
yeah,
I
yeah,
could,
yeah.
yeah.
But this is a positive thing. What I'm listening to everything you're saying is about that you have a lot of self-confidence, and but underneath it, like everybody else, you had an idea, you wanted to do this, and but you had self-doubt. Can I do this? I don't know anything about this. Is it going to work? Now I understand how you push through that, because even though you had the thought of self-doubt, you didn't have the feeling of anything that's tied to self-doubt, because you just pushed through it, and the thought, you pushed the thought away. That's what I'm hearing, and you pushed right through it.
I mean, I don't even know if I said, would this work? I just said, I really love this idea. First of all, the tactile feeling of, I hadn't played the piano in years. So
Yeah,
making jewelry was a lovely tactile thing that I missed.
yeah.
But I never really said, will this work? I remember asking the woman who made the necklace. We went in the store and I said to her, how do you make those knots? And she said, well, I'll show you if you want to come by my apartment later. You know, this is back when you didn't have to worry that, I mean, it was safe or not safe. But
Right.
anyhow, I remember she had all these boxes of stones on her kitchen counter, these colors. And I felt like a 5-year-old again, like with beads and cool colors and tactile things. And I asked her, I said, is this a lucrative business for you? And I remember her saying something like she made like $13,000 over the last few months. And I thought, well, that's not really a lot, but okay. So at least I could start there and
Right,
start.
right.
But I didn't even think about the money. I was tired of the personal organizing. I was tired of doing photo albums for clients. I was doing a lot of photo albums. And honestly, I just started making jewelry, and I was walking down the street. This is when they used to have the magazine stands. Remember, there would be stores that sold so
Yeah.
I walked in.
You don't have them anymore?
They don't have them anymore.
Oh my
So
God.
I'm walking in and I see at the back of the store, Accessories Magazine.
Yeah.
And I literally remember this like it was yesterday. This was 2001. And I said, I'm making accessories. I should probably buy this magazine. Maybe I'll learn something. And in the magazine was a full-page ad to do a trade show at the Javits Center called Accessories the Show. And it was a juried show. And you had to have a collection that you had to send in for approval. And I thought, okay, I got nothing to lose. I send in my jewelry, and the publisher called and she said, she's the publisher of the magazine that sponsors these shows. And she said, we love your stuff. We want to meet you. And I was like really, like I was making jewelry that I liked. That's another big message. You got to make what you like. If you listen to famous designers and stuff, they make what they like and then people follow. So I was making jewelry that I liked, that I wasn't seeing out there on other people. And I was getting stopped on the street. People were like, that's such a pretty necklace. And then my sister said to me, why don't you go sell at your hair salon on a Saturday? Why don't you just go stand there for a few hours? So I agreed to split my profits with the owner of the salon and the women with the foil and sitting, and I would wheel around my jewelry in that metal cart. And understand, I had to already know how much it would cost to make, what kind of profit margin did I want. If somebody else made the jewelry, nobody taught me this. I figured it out. I knew I wasn't going to make the jewelry forever. So I said, what do I have to charge in order to really make this something lucrative and profitable? And I think I made like $3,000 that afternoon.
Were you still working at the time?
I was doing the personal organizing. Oh, that's another big message. You don't just give up another job while you're trying to come out. No. I don't know who would ever encourage that or promote something like, no, you don't give up the other job until you really got this one up and running. So what are you doing? You're working twice as hard. Not afraid. So
nights, weekends, like it's all work.
First of all, I'm not the most social person in the whole wide world. I know I seem like I am, but I work all the time. And I'm not afraid to work evenings, weekends, anytime you work. You work till you finish the job, which you never finish. I'm very lucky. I've got a very strong work ethic. Between my two parents, I think they instilled that in me. Hard work. What else do you have? And they don't know your name, what do you have? Your time.
That's right.
No such thing as an overnight sensation. It's like the old saying, it takes 20 years to become an overnight sensation.
That's right. And that's one of the most important reasons why we have to always start these conversations at the beginning. We can't jump into what you're doing right now, even though we're right about there. Everybody has to understand this was a long journey for you, but it's true for everybody, for me and anybody who's built something from nothing. The journey is what it's all about. And people only see you now, but now they know more about you. This is 20 something years it took you for this to happen.
But like you said, we watched the same documentaries. A lot of these people are not overnight sensations, but when we hear about them now, we're like, what happened? This guy's $10 billion wealthier. You have to put in the years and the years. I mean, I think 7 years before I even opened up my own showroom, where I worked just me with a couple stringers and an assistant in my studio apartment, before I even thought I'd have the money to get a showroom space. That's another thing people do, is they spend too much in the beginning. I didn't even do hot stamping on my jewelry boxes because that was expensive. I got stickers that I would stick on my boxes. People think you got
small steps. It's increments. What's the expression? How do you eat an elephant? Small bites. You take a step, then a step, then a step, and that takes years. It takes years.
But also, you can't have it all ready to go in the beginning. Like you do a business. I didn't even do a business plan where like I have to have $10 million in the bank and the logo has to look like this and that. I didn't. I don't know. Maybe somebody else would think that that's important, but I didn't. And I don't know that it hurt me. But I didn't. I just did what I could as I could.
I never did one either. I'm with you. I never did. I built a multi-million-dollar company from zero, never had a business plan. I did the same exact thing you did. We have the same story.
Okay.
Same story.
Except you're a guy and I'm a girl.
Yeah. Mine was a little more traumatic and tragic at the beginning, but that's for a different conversation. Listen, I want to know what I want to know now. So let's get into where, so you have a business that you gave us the whole background. You have a passion. You have a unique, the product is unique, right? Because it's your heart, it's your passion, it's your vision. It's a combination, as you said before, thank you. There we go. It's a combination of, I don't want to describe it for you, but you describe it again, how you incorporate music into your designs.
So even though I'm wearing jewelry right now that's strung together where the pearls are right next to each other, the beginning of my whole company for the last 20 years has been this idea of suspending stones on nylon cord, the way musical notes are suspended on a staff. I liked the idea of positive and negative space. A lot of jewelry is very overpowering, and a lot of people don't know how to wear jewelry. I'm just going to
closer to the camera. Let me see. Yeah.
So I like the idea where this is the most important thing, and then this is the second thing people notice. I don't like the idea where somebody notices your jewelry first and then notices you. Jewelry should never really overpower you. So the idea of space and stone and space and stone allows the jewelry to breathe and allows it to kind of relax around the person. And then we've slowly started working into this because it's what's trending now. And we do our own spin on it, and we love Baroque pearls, and we're known for that. But you see, even here, there's a little bit of space.
Oh yeah,
Just a little bit of space. It's just, I have a big business in Japan. I've been doing business there for also the last 20 years. And the Japanese have an incredible aesthetic. And they've been describing my jewelry as very Japanese. And I take that as a supreme compliment, because they talk about like wabi sabi and, making cracks in something so it's not perfect, and less is more. If you look at their flower arrangements, they don't just jam a ton of flowers into a vase. It's one bud here and one flower here, and you get to absorb the negative and positive space around it. And I think a lot of great art has negative and positive space. And while a viewer may not necessarily be able to describe what it is that makes them feel good, I think that positive and negative space are a very important component of something that's aesthetically pleasing.
I noticed something you call what do you call it? Everyday luxury. Is that right?
Yes.
I want to make sure I said it correctly. So what do you mean by everyday luxury?
So we're trying to instill in people the idea that luxury is not something, a luxurious piece of jewelry is not something you put away for the wedding or the special occasion or the holiday. And that because we're mid-priced and we're not crazy expensive, that you can take a denim shirt like I'm wearing and put some pearls on it, around your neck, and that's luxurious. There's something luxurious about, first of all, they feel so incredible. They warm up to your body, and they came from nature. They came from the water. They came from a mollusk, and they're just, there's just something about wearing pearls that feels good. And why should you deny yourself luxury and luxurious things when every day you should be luxurious?
100%. We just skipped to the end. We got to go back to where we were before.
Okay.
So you're clearly, you have a brand that is, globally people know your brand, right? But we just skipped everything in between. How did you navigate where you were before you had employees to, you were going to shows, you were going to hair salons, like you were making this up along the way?
Yes.
Sort of, but
No,
you
really.
people.
Yeah.
Where was the breakthrough moment? What was the breakthrough moment where it really became like, oh wow, this is more than just something that's going to make me some money. I'm going to build an impactful company. Like, what was it?
I think when I brought my VP of sales in, Jean-Marie Melendez, I think she's been with the company 10 years, maybe going on 11. I built it to a place where I couldn't do anymore as one person and having an assistant. I needed someone who had the skills and the experience. She came from Madison Avenue. She was a manager at Bergdorf Goodman. And another sponge soaking it up, because she does a million things that she's not trained to do. She's an incredible photographer. She wings it in the best possible sense. Like, she figures out what she needs to do, but she also sorry?
That's a good team, the two of you, like in that way. It's powerful.
She's a very strong person, and she is very demanding, and it actually is great for a creative person like me because she's much more into the business end of it. So I think it's important to have people on your team who can give you things and do things for you that you can't do for yourself, who offer things that you don't have. I'm always learning from her. She always amazes me. And then expanding production. What does it take to ramp up a business? I watch Shark Tank all the time. I used to watch it all the time.
Right, of course.
And I like pop culture, and I like watching pop culture, but every time they have someone on that show, Mark Cuban wants to ramp it up to, multi-million dollars. So people who come in, who he feels could never ramp it up to make a lot of money, he doesn't want to invest in. So what's the point? So, we're never going to be like $1 billion company. We're not going to, we do very well. But they say, you know, design for the masses, live with the classes, design for the classes, live with the masses. I don't know if you've ever heard that expression.
I have not.
So we're sort of trying to design with the masses. Right now we're designing for the classes a little bit, but it's an older demographic. You know, we didn't even identify our demographic when we started. We had people like Blake Lively, who was 20 years old at the time, wearing, you know, the jewelry, and, you know, Julianne Moore, who's my age, wearing the jewelry, and Sharon Stone. And so it has slowly evolved into a little bit of an older demographic because, hey, they've got the money to spend, and hey, a lot of them don't need to ask their husbands for the money because they're working. So, you know, I didn't even know that you had to identify a demographic before Jean-Marie came in. I didn't even know you had to have an earrings collection to go with the jewel. So she came in and she kind of like brought it all into more of a realistic business viable thing.
And at that point, it sounds like now there's a plan in place. Like, you're bringing her in, she's got this skill set. And I was going to ask you about the names that you just mentioned, because what I'm curious about is you ended up in some major stores, working with some major people. Was that because you sought them out, the people specifically, or was it because they recognized the brand or the jewelry and they just liked it, or both?
So one of the greatest accounts I ever got, and unfortunately they're what's it called? They're restructuring now. They filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, but ABC Carpet and Home in New York City was my first account. And it was the go-to place for all the cool celebrities and wealthy clientele and rugs and home furnishings and things you couldn't get anywhere else. Chandeliers and homeware, incredible dishes and things. Who would go in there all the time? Sharon Stone, Brooke Shields, Sandra Bullock. I saw, and Blake Lively happened to be in the store too, and she saw my jewelry, and she had her publicist call me, and she said, Blake would like to wear your stuff on the red carpet. So I said, as long as I can meet her, I will be happy to loan her some items to wear on the red carpet. So that's how I established a relationship with her, and she's an incredibly lovely person.
Why was it important for you to meet her?
Because I knew early on that if you don't get a photograph of one of your celebrities wearing your jewelry, you got nothing. You can't just say so-and-so wears it. I knew that I had to be there, and I knew I had to take a picture of her, because what if she didn't get photographed on the red carpet? What if I didn't get that photo? Turns out she got me some amazing photos, but I knew I had to take a picture. Sharon Stone, Brooke Shields, I said, I have to take a picture of you, and they let me. That's the goal.
Brilliant. It's brilliant because you just knew that.
I just knew that. You
just knew that.
Because PR agencies borrow jewelry all the time, and they put it on celebrities. And where's the photo? And now where's my photo? That's the ticket. So I knew that. I knew that early on.
Were those pivotal moments? I mean, that's big, right? So that did something for growth.
I remember when Blake Lively, People magazine put a picture of her in one of my necklaces, and I got credit. You don't always get credit. And I remember, this is 20 years ago, I did like $10,000 of sales on my website that weekend. And I thought, my God, this is incredible. Yeah. The power of celebrities, and so then it becomes the hunt to try to get people to wear your jewelry. And Blake was amazing. She did a movie with Julianne Moore, and she said, give me a necklace, and I'm going to give it to Julianne, or they called her Julie. And then I get a call from Julianne Moore saying, hi, this is Julie. And I love the necklace that you gave me, but I actually love turquoise more. Do you think I could maybe get the turquoise and turquoise? And I said, I'm sorry, Julie who? She said, it's Julianne Moore. And I was like, huh? And I remember I said, for sure, absolutely, of course. I said, and I'll come and drop the necklace off at your house. She goes, well, let me know when you come by so I make sure I'm here. Oh, and I was like, okay.
Is this real?
It was, and the most flattering comment I ever got was when she opened the door and she said, oh my God, you look just like me. And I thought, that's nice. I don't, but thank you for thinking that.
I wasn't going to.
I don't see it.
Actually, when you mentioned the name, I'm like, you look alike.
If Julianne Moore thinks so, I'll take it. But I'll tell you something. I needed to take a picture of her in the necklace. And she didn't want to take a picture because she didn't have any makeup on. And I finagled and I said, please, can I please? And I put makeup on her in Photoshop and all that. but I didn't leave there without a photo of Julianne Moore in one of my necklaces.
So that's an interesting point. So at this point, when people, you do custom things for people. Now people are asking you for custom work.
I did back then. I did 20 years ago. I would make a necklace if somebody said I like turquoise. If a celebrity was going to wear something on the red carpet and they said, can you do this, but like a triple strand, we could. We don't typically do custom orders because we have over 5,000 designs. Like we've got everything. We've got every color, every stone, every style.
So you took this from an idea to doing it yourself, to doing everything. I'm sure you were the accountant, you were the marketing person, you were the salesperson, and you were the factory, everything. To hiring somebody who was like probably a game changer for you.
Yes.
To hiring a few more people. And I'm still pretty amazed that you do what you do with, you said 7 people. That's impressive.
I have 3 people who make the jewelry. And when I tell you they're artisans, they're artisans. You don't just string up a necklace. You have to lay it out. It has to have music to it. It has to sing. I always say it has to sing. And I've got a VP of sales, general manager. She's all in one, and she has an assistant. And then we have 2 other people who are backup assistants who run errands or help with the weekend orders or pack and ship or whatever it is that we need to do. People who are not afraid to do what they need to do. I wouldn't say we're like a cool hip company where you get to meet people at the water cooler and it's fun and it's work, it's business. We don't sit around listening to music and drinking wine all day. It's hard work. It's not glamorous.
How do you find like the artisans that you're talking about? You have 3 of them. How do you know that they're going to like it's one thing for you to design something, for you to make something, and for you to have that be like it's you, it's emotions, it's part of your fabric of who you are. But now you have 3 people who are now doing that for you. Like, how do you know that they can do what you see?
So we make a piece and then it gets photographed and then it goes into a library. So we know what size pearl, we know how the spacing is, we know what color crystal, we know which kind of closure. But it's more than that because stones are not all the same size and shape. And so what we've made will never actually be exactly that. So it's like learning an instrument. It's a trial period. Somebody comes in and they get a couple of months to see if they can do this knotting technique. And like anybody, you're either going to have talent for this instrument or skill, or it's not going to be for you. And if it's not for you, thank you very much. We move on and we start with someone else. And it's very difficult to find people to do this, I have to say.
That's what it sounds like. That's why I'm so curious. It really sounds like, and it's this, like, this has got to be, it has to be, the output really, it's all you. Like it's your name. I mean, when I say that, it's your name, it's you really at the end of the day. So it has to always be just right. That's hard to find somebody that can really like meet that expectation.
The thing is, I'm extremely lucky. I've got really great people who value their work. They value the job. They care about each other. They care about me. I'm extremely fortunate. And I'll tell you, that's also part of being a good boss is being fair. They don't make minimum wage. They get paid really, really well because they're artists. And I could have this stuff made overseas in China and it wouldn't work. Part of another thing, which, I don't know, it's probably all out of order or whatever, but customer service is such a critical component to running a company. It's not enough that you just sold that piece to somebody at Neiman Marcus, for example. It might break. Cartier watches break. Gucci purses break. Things break. And people have repairs. Every company has a repair center. And we stand behind everything. And so I value these people because whatever they do, they have to stand behind their work. So I have to pay them very well in order to do such good work.
Absolutely. So now you've got to a place, I mean, it sounds like you're having fun in the middle of the work. You've achieved something, you've built something. I mean, it's amazing. You've done what 99% of the people that try to do don't do in business. You made it.
I don't know about those people.
Where do you go from here? What's next? What are you going to do? What's next?
I have to tell you, I'm still reeling from the pandemic. I am reeling from last year. Like we're not quite back where we were. We are getting there, and we've lost a couple of big stores. We've lost a couple of small stores, not a couple, we've lost several. So we're still trying to get our sea legs right now, because we're trying to pivot enough to build our online business much more, and to get bigger orders from stores. And one of our biggest accounts is Neiman Marcus, and they went through a little bit of an adjustment last year when they had to restructure, and they've come back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And they've been extremely good to us. We just love them. And there are 3 stores in Florida that I visit when I'm down there, in Boca, in Bell Harbor, and in Coral Gables. And Palm Beach unfortunately closed, so that's not great. But
you're in Bell Harbor?
Oh yeah.
It's so funny. I was down there for the first time about 3 weeks ago. I'm going to look for your store when I go down there again.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful, beautiful shopping center.
It's a beautiful shopping center. We're also at Mix at the Breakers Hotel. I'm only naming Florida stores. We've got a ton, and I'm sorry if I don't name everybody. But what's next? Keeping our head above water, I would say right now. And one thing that I don't always think about is next 5 years. I just want to get through each year and make sure we've treated our stores well, and we've dealt with our customers properly, and that we're putting out beautiful jewelry. And I just don't think 5 years down the line. I'm getting to a point where in 5 years I should be retiring. I'm not retiring. I'm going to work till I'm 85. I'm inspired by my mom, whose age I'm not allowed to say, but my mother is in, let's say, well into 9 something, and she still prepares students for their SATs. She still works. And so I'm inspired by both of my parents, and I don't want to retire. So as far as next steps, just keep working and making beautiful things, and making sure I can pay my bills.
That's always good. Tell me about, you have a cause, which is, I think it's connected to dogs. There's a cause that's important to you.
Well, I started an Italian Greyhound Angel rescue group a number of years ago. It's been very difficult to keep it going. And I continue to donate to animal causes, but we rescued, I just heard my dog bark. Here's Charlotte. Does everybody?
Let me see, bring her over.
Charlotte, come here, Booba. You want to say hello? She may not come over. She's just deciding. Oh, hello.
You want a treat?
Charlotte. Come here, come say hi.
Let me see.
So come on, come and see. If I go over to her, she'll run away from me. Come here.
My dog does the same thing. They go the opposite direction.
You know what I'm
By the way, it's not the dog isn't the problem, it's us, the human beings.
Of course it's us. Come here, Charlotte.
Let me see.
We're gonna say hi. That's Charlotte.
Oh wow.
Hi, Charlotte.
We gotta have a doggy play date when you're down here.
Absolutely. She's a pistol. So we rescued a number of Italian Greyhounds who had been either in hoarding situations, or had been abused or neglected, or so I could say we rescued probably about 20 Italian Greyhounds. And
wow.
Right, you're gonna not bark while I'm being interviewed. No, that's not gonna happen. I have to give her a treat. So animal causes are very dear to my heart. And we actually donate jewelry to a number of charities. We get asked quite often to donate necklaces to raise money for different charities. And I'm so happy to do it, because they go into like silent auctions, and then, the people can use the money for the charity.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I have, you said something before, and I kind of skipped over, but COVID was difficult for every business, but you said something, which was the word pivot. And I mean, you're still here. You were able to adapt, you're able to adjust, and whatever it meant for you, you're going strong. And that's so important that we point that out to anybody who is in business or thinking about going in business. The growth mindset is rooted in your ability to change direction when you need to. You have to, and you can't be latched onto, well, I was doing this and this was the plan. You have to be able to just say, okay, that's it. We're changing direction and we're going over here now. Otherwise, you're going to sink.
I have to say, I want to give a lot of credit to Jean-Marie, my VP of sales, because I was really scared last summer. I'm not going to lie. It was the first time ever in any business I've been involved in where I was scared because the unknown, how long is this going to go on? People need to go to stores to buy jewelry. Stores were closed. How well could we do online? Well, Jean-Marie just kept plugging away. She just wouldn't give up. And even when I was feeling scared, she's like, nope, we're going to do this. We need to do more emails. We need to target our VIP customers. We need to do more online business. I don't know what the exponential number is, but we did maybe like 5 times better during COVID. Like we did 5 times the business we did the year before COVID, online business. We targeted, as she suggested, we targeted our VIP customers. I got on the phone with anybody who needed to talk to me. The customers loved it, and I love talking to my customers.
That's so cool.
And that's another thing. When you start to grow, you kind of get less involved and you're more of a distant presence. I would talk to people Saturday night at 11 o'clock at night who would have questions about something they saw on the internet, on the website. And I loved talking to them more than they loved talking to me. And believe me, they were having a thrill. They loved it. Oh my God. I'd call them for a repair or something. I'd say,
I got Margo.
They're like, wait a minute, is this Margo Morrison? And I'm not that important, but it felt really good to feel like there are people out there who really value my product and love what I'm doing. That feels good.
That might be what it's all about. Because like at a certain point, you make enough money. Like you can pay the bills, you have a roof over your head, but what's it really about? Like what's the whole point? In your case, you're delivering something that feels good to the world. And so every person that has your product, you're impacting them because they feel good. Just the way you were talking about it before, the way it feels on you, the way it looks, your eyes lit up. I was watching your face when you were doing that because you felt good, and everybody that wears your jewelry feels the same way.
Here's a good story. When I was in Japan a couple years ago, I hope I don't start getting emotional. But the first part of the story is my sister was there. Actually, I wasn't there at the time. My sister and her family went to Japan and randomly asked a random woman on the street if she spoke English and if she could give directions to a particular restaurant they were going to. Woman was Japanese. Turns out she spoke English and took them to the restaurant. They started talking, and the woman said, my sister somehow mentioned that her sister, me, is a jewelry designer and sells to a lot of customers in Japan. And she said, who's your sister? And she said, Margo Morrison. And she started shrieking. Lisa said, like shrieking, my sister. She said, oh my God, I know your sister's jewelry. She said, my mother has cancer. And she bought one of your sister's necklaces. And she carries it with her to her chemo treatment. She wears it to her chemo treatments. And she said it's her good luck charm. It's her amulet.
Wow.
And she loves it.
Wow.
And that's like, I'm not making, this isn't rocket science. I'm not curing cancer. I'm not making world peace here. But if a customer goes to chemo and feels good in my necklace, I'm done. That's it. What else do I need to do?
That's it.
Like that made my year. And then I met her mother a year later, and I made her and I made her mother special necklaces as gifts. When I came back to Japan, I brought them gifts.
Wow, you have such a power, like such a powerful, it's just amazing. That story is powerful, but when
that was
the ability to impact people that deeply is uncommon. A lot of people do a lot of things in life, but you have the ability to really, really make people feel good. It's really cool.
I mean, that wasn't what I started out. That wasn't my intention. But like, if somebody has a piece of jewelry that makes them feel good and they have an adverse, it's some sort of form of adversity, like, it's interesting. It's like somebody could argue like, okay, but it's not that big of a deal. But it is. It was a nice thing. It made me feel good.
Think about so it's funny, everything you've been attracted to has the ability to make people feel good. Music is all about making you feel good. You listen to music, it's 100% about mood and feeling, and you can change your mood, your feeling, your energy by listening to different music. And so you're like, it sounds to me like you're an expert musician, the way with your background, but then you've done all these other types of artwork, and this is just this is artwork. So everything you do is connected with making people feel something.
It's funny because all of my Japanese customers they consider themselves collectors of art.
Yeah.
And not once, I've been to Japan probably 13 times. And every year there'll be one customer that comes with a box of like 60 or 70 pieces of jewelry, all wrapped perfectly. They're all mine. And they want to talk about them and they want to look at them like they're art. And actually, I hang all my necklaces on hooks in my bathroom near my closet because I want to look at them. I don't want to put them away. To me, these are pieces of art.
And so you, as the person that's producing it, you don't even look at this as like, oh, it's just something I'm selling to make money. I mean, you look at it the same way as your customers look at it. You've never, even as you're doing it right now, I'm watching your face every time you talk about your own stuff, and you light up. And so you are the customer.
I'm the customer and I'm also the business person. You know, on certain days, maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think of it as marketing a product. And the rest of the time I'm looking at it as, oh yeah, wow, that's right. This birth,
Yeah.
look how nicely it sits in there. And no, I don't like this length. It needs to be a little shorter. So I have to play both sides. I have to make sure I'm marketing something properly and getting the, the desired results, but it's got to be beautiful. It's my name. I don't want to go down in history as this woman made crappy, ugly jewelry that ended up in landfills. I want it to be where like somebody passed this down to their daughter and to their daughter's daughter. When people call me and ask, what the value is of something, like for their insurance purposes, like that makes me really happy, or for their will, because they're going to give it to their children. It's a thrill. And all of this is a thrill. I got to tell you, it's just to meet customers and know how much I make them happy and how much they love the stuff. It's a thrill.
I don't want to end the conversation, but we kind of have to. But it's really it's so cool to hear your perspective, and I think anybody that ever watches this and hears the things you're saying and feels the passion through the screen, like this isn't just jewelry. It's way, way, way beyond that. And I'm so glad that you came through that way. It's really powerful.
Thank you. I just think for anyone that wants to start a business or do anything, the word passion is, if you don't have it and you just want to make the money, I just don't know how that works. I mean, go work in the financial district. I just think that if your heart and soul isn't into something, it won't carry you through the really rough times when you don't know if you're going to make it.
Right.
But that deep burning love, heart and soul feeling will get you through those times, because you're like, I know what I'm doing is great.
100%. We took people on a journey in this past hour and 15 minutes. It was an absolute journey. We heard about everything from one end to the other. Really, this is one of the best shows we've had. Like your journey is very, very cool, and your story is very, very inspiring. And inherently, you dropped about 50 hints about how to be successful in business, and it's like everything about what you've done. It's a roadmap. This is what you do. Follow your passion. You said you don't have a vision, but I heard you say 50 times about what your vision is. And even now, the vision is to impact people's lives. I'm sorry, that's what I'm hearing, and you care deeply about that. And that matters a lot. So tell me, overall, give me a rundown. Like, where else can people find you? Where can they get your jewelry?
So I have a website, margomorrison.com, and I have an Instagram account, at Margo Morrison New York. Facebook page, Margo Morrison NY is Instagram. Facebook is Margo Morrison New York. And if you go on my website and look at my stores list, it'll tell you who carries the line.
Perfect.
I've plugged a number of stores. I've plugged Neiman Marcus. I've plugged a couple other places, but and you can email me if you're in a city. And also, if you've got questions about pieces and you want to know, email me directly. I'll answer them.
And she'll take your phone calls.
I will take your calls. Not at 2 a.m. though. I do go to bed earlier now.
We're going to put all of that information in the description down below. So everything's going to be there forever for people to find you. And I think that a great way to end our conversation, and it's so perfect with the story you told. I say this at the end of every show. Remember, the show is meant to inspire you, to inform you, to educate you. Do the work, be humble, and you have to hustle. I hope the show helps you reach your potential. That's it. Thank you.